Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, worshippers of all ages, welcome to YouTube. My name is SeaRaptor, and today we're continuing our first look at the new German destroyer branch with Tier VIII's Gustav Julius Maerker. I believe I'm getting that right. Maerker, Marker, probably Marker. I don't know. One of the two. German is not my forte. It's my wife's language. It's not mine. I learned all this French in high school. Anyways, let's have a look at this ship. Of course, we took a look at Z31 a few days ago. Now we're going to have a look here at Maerker and see what she has to offer. Remember, the couple of things that stood out at Z31 back at her tier was her armor scheme and the what appears to be just an insane dispersion ellipse. We're going to look for those traits to maybe continue here and see what else Maerker has to offer. Starting at the top, as we always do, with a hit point pool, 25,000 hit points for this ship, kids. This absolutely is best in tier, and it's not even close. This blows away the ship in second place, that's Akizuki, by the way, by almost 5,000 hit points. When you put survivability expert on this ship, she's going to have almost 28,000 hit points. That's lunacy. That's absolute lunacy, but that's what's going to happen. Now, this is actually this is a ship that I might even consider not taking survivability expert on. It would depend on what else you wanted in the build, but like with this kind of a health advantage, you could justify it depending. Again, it depends on what else you've got going in the build. But yeah, this could be interesting. This is massive. This is a ton of health and everything. I'm blown away by this. Armor layout, 19 millimeters fore and aft, and just like we saw at Z31, 25 millimeter plating here through the middle of the ship. So like we talked about, basically anybody mounting the 4.1, the 5-inch guns, most of the other destroyers you're going to encounter at this tier will not be able to pen you with HE shells through your midsection here. They're going to have to either swap to AP or take IFHE, and in most cases, I don't even think IFHE is going to get you there. It might with the 5-inch guns. Let's see, it at about 4 mils. It should. With the 127 millimeter guns. So with the British, the smaller guns, the 120 millimeter guns won't get you there. With the 127s and the 128s, like the French, and the French guns would probably definitely get you there. Those will get you there, but most players will probably not take IFH on a destroyer. I typically don't, right? So yeah. But anyhow, she retains those little quirks in terms of she's a little more resilient to high explosive, small caliber high explosive shells, and she has a lot of health. Maneuverability and concealment, 36 knots. Okay, it's pretty average. I mean, it's a little on the low end, I'll say. It's not worst in tier. That still goes to, it looks like Fen Yang's 33, Akizuki's 33 is still worst in tier. But there's a lot of 35s, 36s, 37s in this tier. Not everybody can be Fantastic and Tarib that are up in the low 40s. Like, that's just not a thing. Or Kiev even, right? 760 meters on the turning circle is absolutely worst in tier. Like it's bad. This is even worse than Akizuki. If you're uncomfortable handling Akizuki, if Akizuki feels fat and sluggish to you, I suspect that Maerker is going to give you similar headaches given this speed in this turning circle. 5.5 seconds on the rudder shift is also worst in tier. So she may be chonky, but she's going to handle like it too. Like you're going to know you're driving a fatter ship than most other destroyers. Base concealment on the surface, you see there, it's reading 8.2 in the port, but the actual number is 8.16. I checked it on the Game Models 3D. When you run a full stealth rig, that gets her down to 6.41 meters of detection, 6.41 kilometers on the surface. That is not worst in tier, actually. Yeah, it's not worse than tier, but only because the French exist, basically. Like everybody else, except Kiev, I suppose. Just about everybody else is worse. Is better. Is significantly better. So this is a ship that your opponents will see coming. They will know where you are. And yes, she can be a bully with that health pool and everything, but you're not going to sneak up on anybody in this thing. I mean, not with that kind of health advantage. This is obviously one of the balancing factors of the ship. Now, I do want to point this out, and I want to talk about this for a minute. She's a 4.4 detection radius by air on the surface. For a destroyer, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. I don't understand why this number is so high. This number is actually larger than her AA radius. Maerker only has a short and a mid-range aura that goes out to 3.5 kilometers. So she's lit on the surface almost a full kilometer before her AA can engage. What? That's terrible for a destroyer. It's horrible. At Tier 8, this thing's gonna see Audacious's and other Tier 10 carriers. No, no, Wargaming, what are you doing? No. I have a strong suspicion this number is going to change. I don't know that. I haven't played the ship, but woof, guys, woof, right? The only other ship in this tier that comes close to this kind of garbage surface detection by air is Kiev. But Kiev has a decent AA bubble that goes out past this, right? Maerker doesn't. This feels like a terrible idea on paper. So, yeah, I'm not sold on this. This I find to be an extreme concern. Main battery. 5 single-mounted, 150 millimeter, 55 caliber turrets here. These are the same guns you've been firing in the from down. If you've played down at Tier 7, you've played Z31, you've played Ernst Gade's 150 millimeters, you've played Z23 in this tier on the other branch can also mount 150 millimeter guns. These are the same guns. Okay, 6.5 second reload is a little better than Z23's over in the other tech branch, which gives her, so this ship gets a slight main battery DPM advantage, which is good. We'll talk about why that is in a minute. And you see there her dispersion circle, 57 meters. We talked about kind of in the Z31 video, that 55 meter dispersion circle sounds really good. I'm really curious to see what this, how like in practice, how these work. Now, one of the things I want to talk about while we're talking about her main battery, okay, I'm going to give you kind of a top-down view of the ship here. The forward turrets and the stern turrets look like they'll have pretty good firing angles, but this middle turret, I'm not convinced, and I need to go look at this over at Game Models. This middle turret looks like it's going to have trash stern firing angles. So I'm going to go pull up the sector of fire, and let's have a look at this. And yeah, you can get all 5, and I'll put the graphic up here. I'll kind of layer it on the screen so you can see it. I'll do that in post-production. But basically, getting all 4 of these guns on target over, all 5 of these guns on targets off your bow is going to be workable. But this turret right here is going to struggle to fire off the stern. You can kind of get to see it, right? I mean, there's obviously a large area back here where it's not going to have good angles, but it's only going to have to work around firing around these boat davits when firing off the firing up towards the bow. So yeah, and I'll show you. You can see on the graphic there, it's bad. So this is a ship that, she's fat, she's slow, she's not that slow, but she doesn't handle amazingly, and she's going to struggle to get all of her guns to bear from time to time. So that's going to be curious. 11.9 kilometer range, pretty good for these guns. Pretty good. I can't really complain about that. Why is it good that her main battery reloads faster? It's because her torpedoes are really not anything to write home about. Now, these are the exact same torpedoes that we had at Tier 7 on Z31. 7-kilometer range, 90-second reload, 13.7 alpha. It's a 227% flooding chance. I went and looked that up. And by the time you combine the 61-knot speed with the 1.3-kilometer detection, that does amount to an 8.2-second reaction time for an enemy ship. Now, what's interesting, though, look at how these torpedoes are mounted. Rather than having 2 centerline mounted quad launchers, I've got a single quad launcher, and then this weird, I've got 2 doubles. I've got 1 double launcher on each side of the ship, right? 1 here and 1 here. It's odd, and it gives her some interesting flexibility. I don't know that this is going to be like noteworthy. 2 torpedo salvos in high tiers is not necessarily amazing, but it does give her the ability to put 6 fish in the water off one side of the ship and then still have a small reserve on the opposite side if she needs it. So, something to keep in mind. I feel like this is, the more I look at this ship, the more I realize this is going to be a very specialized play style, right? Like this is not a ship that you're going to be able to just hop into and take to. It's going to take some time, I think, to figure this ship out. Last but not least, let's talk about her AA defenses. We talked earlier about the AA range. You see it there, 3.5 kilometers. Now, her AA numbers in this bubble are not bad. Okay, there's actually pretty good values for a destroyer. But the problem is the range. You have a 3.5 kilometer AA range and essentially what amounts to a 4.5 kilometer surface detection value. Aerial detection value. That's terrible. That's going to give any carrier that wants to almost the ability to easily rocket drop you, and you can't even fight back by the time he's on his run. Like this is just. I'm gonna pick on Wargaming for a little bit, right? When I see stuff like this, it feels like bad design. Now, I'm saying that without having played the ship, all right? So temper, mea culpa if this turns out to not be the case, right? But it it feels bad. As a destroyer player on paper, I look at this and my heart just hurts. I weep for all of the Gustav Julius Maerker players of the future who, if the ship releases in this state, will have to suffer at the hands of every carrier player that just wants to abuse them and will basically get to do so for like easily. It just feels bad. Now, Raptor, doesn't this ship have defensive fire? Yeah, she does. She does, guys. Look at that. She does have defensive fire. But who cares? This is, I'm going to use a Texas phrase, guys. This is like putting tits on a bull, okay? You've given a ship with 3.5 kilometer AA and no flak. Zero flak, by the way. Zero flak. You see any flak in this AA thing? No. No flak here. You've given her defensive fire. So literally, this part about 50% continuous damage, hey, that works. Even though the range is trash, I'm getting more AA use. I'm getting more AA damage. Great. 300% damage from shell explosions. Worthless. I have no flak on this ship. None. This pisses me off. This is the kind of thing that, in my mind, someone should point out in a design document. Like, in the engineering world, right, where I work and live in designing offshore oil facilities, this is the kind of thing that somebody would flag up in the design phase and say, hey, fellas, this doesn't make any sense. Are you sure about this? Like, I would literally sit down and send my client a note to say, an email and say, if you really want this, I need you to put this in writing because this is stupid, right? That's how this feels right now. We'll see. Maybe the ship plays better than I think, right? If she had a heel to go along with this, I would be less vocal about it, let's say, because I feel like that would give her the ability, all right, she can weather some of these attacks. The carrier's going to get some cheap shots for free, basically, but I can heal back some of it. Okay. But she can't, and she has no smoke. Like, what? Ugh. The design of this ship right now just baffles the hell out of me. She does at least get hydro, but what is this? I have gimped hydro. Yes, that's right, kids. This is now 4 kilometer hydro. What is happening? Where is my 5 kilometer hydro at tier 8, right? Now, Z23, I think, doesn't she get, she gets the 5 kilometer hydro. So why is it I only get 4 kilometer hydro on Maerker? Why don't I get the same hydro that the rest of the tier gets? This just feels like a mistake, right? Like somebody screwed up. I don't know. I hate this. This consumables loadout, honestly, right now, pisses me off because it feels insulting. It just feels, ugh. Right now, I hate the look of this ship on paper, guys. I hate it. I want to like the main battery. The main battery literally does, it really does interest me. But this ship just has so many other, like, mind-blowing, what are you doing moments. I cannot wrap my brain around where they're going with this right now. I sincerely hope this ship does not come to life in this state. I desperately hope that the super testers generate enough data that Wargaming will go in and fix some of this stuff. Because right now, this one looks like a stinker. This one looks like a, nope, free XP time. We're out of here. That's how this ship feels to me right now. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Wash your hands, be safe, and I'll catch you next time.